Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Check this out. I'm sure that a lot of you have not heard of too many dope boys that walk away from the game, right? Most people just don't quit. The money's too good. The prestige, if that's what you want to call it, is all over the place. People coming to you, asking you for favors, talking to you, treating you as if you're somebody that has a little bit more knowledge and understanding of the world than they do. You know, you basically get treated like somebody if you're a dope boy. And we all know that, well, I do anyway. I'm hoping that those of you that are listening out there, fam, that you understand that most people in the game are not as smart as they put on. If we were, we wouldn't be in the game, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Because it always ends up that we land in the penitentiary. So, we can't be too smart. But I want to share with you this story about this guy that I know named Ricky. I call him Rick, though. Dope boy Rick. About why and how he ended up getting out of the game. Right now, he never really ended up doing any real time in prison. He had a little bit, you know what I'm saying, that he did, a little 6-year bit. He ended up flattening that, and he got out of the penitentiary, right? And while he was out of the penitentiary, he started hustling again, selling a little weed. He never really sold anything other than weed, but when I say he sold weed, he sold boatloads of it, right? And making plenty of money. Now, this particular day, on one particular day, right, Dope Boy Rick, he ends up getting stopped by the police. And they asked him, they asked him, could they search his car? And he said no. Now, a lot of people think if the police ask you to search the car, that you have to do it. You don't have to. Now, they can run the dog around it or whatever the case may be and call and get a warrant or go get a warrant, you know what I'm saying? But other than stopping you for like a regular traffic violation or whatever, they got to write you a ticket and let you go. And he knew this. So when they stopped him, he said, "What you stopped me for, officer?" And the officer told him, you know what I'm saying, that your light was out. Like the rear light was out. And they always say something like that, right? And he was like, "Nah, my stuff's straight." You know what I'm saying? He said, "Can you go ahead and write me a ticket so I can go? I'll deal with this in court." So the officer said, "Can I search your car?" He's like, "Nah, you can't search my car." He said, "If you ain't got nothing to hide, why don't you let me search your car?" Now, they knew Rick. They knew him, you know what I'm saying, as being a dope boy and all this and that. So they always mess with him, you know what I'm saying, charging him all the time falsely and all this and that, just running him in and out of court. He would beat the cases because there's nothing there, right? So here we go again. So the police said, "Step out of the car." Now, you got to be careful when, the police tell you to step out of the car because, a lot of us get killed that way. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us get shot and killed, you know what I'm saying, or hurt or beat up or whatever the case may be. So he was like, "What do I need to get out of the car for? Just write me a ticket and I'm on my way." He kept saying that because he wanted the officer to understand, I know what you're doing. So the officer stepped back from the car, puts his hand on his pistol and tells him one more time, "Step out of the car." So Ricky, he put his hands on the outside of the car so the officer could see him, opened the door from that side, pulled his hands back in and had his hands up the whole time in plain sight of the officer. And he stepped out of the car. When he stepped out of the car, he turned, faced the car, put his hands behind his back. The officer put handcuffs on him and set him down on the sidewalk. All of this is totally unnecessary because at the same time, Rick said, "What am I being, why are you putting handcuffs on me? What am I being arrested for?" And the officer said, "No, you're not being arrested. I'm just going to search your car." He said, "I'm not giving you permission to search my car. I'm not giving you permission to search my car." Now, keep in mind, at this time, they don't have these body cams, right? They don't have these body cams. But they had a camera in the police car that was the way the police car was behind Rick's car when Rick got set down on the sidewalk. They can see the whole scenario playing out. It's all being recorded, right? So here we go. But they can hear. When they look at the tape, you're not going to be able to hear, but you can see what's going on. But you can see a conversation is taking place. And most of the time, you know how they go. They take the police's version of the story. But anyway, let me get back to the story. So now, Rick is sitting down on the sidewalk in front of the car, and the officer proceeds to search his car. He goes through the front seat, looking up in there, looking in the glove compartment, this and that. All of this is totally illegal. Totally illegal. Now people are starting to ride by and stop. And they yelling, Rick, what you doing, man? You done got stopped again. And he starts to yell, no, man, this man is illegally searching my car. He's yelling this out. He wants as many people to hear him say that this officer is illegally searching his car. I did not give him permission to search my car. Now everybody's starting to yell, what you doing searching his car? That man ain't gave you permission to search his car. It's creating a problem in the area. So the officer calls for backup. And he proceeds to continue to search Rick's car. Gets to the back seat. Nothing there. Then he gets out of the car, goes to the trunk, walks back to the front of the car, gets in the car, pops the trunk, goes to the back, searches the trunk, and up under the tire, he finds a few pounds of weed. Got him. He said, I knew you had something in here, Rick. I knew you had something in here. Rick puts his head down between his legs and he's like, man, you didn't have permission to search my car. You ain't finna be able to do nothing to me. I didn't give you permission to search my car. So the officer starts screaming out, now, I smelled weed, so I had the right to search your car. He's trying to set the stage now so that he'll be justified when this goes to court. So the situation plays out. Rick gets arrested for possession, right? The backup has gotten there, and when the backup gets there, they all know Rick. And Rick's telling them, man, I didn't give him permission to search my car. They don't really want to hear it because they got these pounds of weed. Put him in the back of the car. Now, one of the guys that had been passing by, he went to tell Rick's girlfriend, who is pregnant, that they got Rick down on the corner taking him to jail. Well, trying to take him to jail, because at that time he didn't know if they was going to take him to jail or not. But by the time she gets there, he drives her to the area. When she gets there, Rick is in the back seat of the police car. So he's telling her, take my car home. They telling him, no, we're going to take this car down to the impound because drugs were found in it, right? So she says, okay, this, and that, whatever. She said, I'll be down there to make your bond. So he goes down there. She goes down to the jail. She tries to make his bond. Now they giving him the runaround and all of this and that and making it difficult for her to make bond for now. You got to keep in mind, she's pregnant. So she don't need all of this stress. So anyway, she eventually is able to secure his bond. Rick is out, and he's going home with her. And she's telling him, she don't want this for their daughter. Now, they already know they're having a little girl. She said, I don't want this. We can't keep doing this. She said, you got to quit. Rick don't want to quit. He ain't trying to hear that. He ain't never had a job. He's always hustled. But he's got money put up. Now, see, that sounds familiar, I'm sure, to a lot of you. Ain't got no reason to stay in the game other than because your own ego, you don't want to work or whatever the case, you want to keep doing it. She's begging him to quit. They get back to the house. She already has some food prepared and all this and that, right? So he sits down and eats and gives her a massage, massages her feet, all of these types of things. And then they go to bed, but he's laying in the bed, he's thinking, I got to do something. I got this case. You feel me? So he goes to get a lawyer, right? And the lawyer is fighting the case. The police are dragging it out. They want Rick off the streets. They know he's selling weed. But this issue of illegal search and seizure comes up in the courtroom. Comes up. And now the judge is saying he's going to decide on that motion to dismiss based on illegal search and seizure in a couple of weeks. Now, during that time, Rick's girlfriend goes into labor. And when she goes into labor, she has the little girl. Now, they got this little girl, and she is beautiful. Looks just like her mom. She's beautiful. But Rick can't really enjoy the situation like he wants to because he's thinking, the police dirty. That's what he's thinking. I might end up in jail. And my baby is just born. So now he's trying to figure out something. So he goes to talk to the lawyer. The lawyer says, we can fight this. Rick saying, I want to get this over with because I got a new child. I want to leave us alone. I want to be done. I want to get away from these people. He wants to move away. The lawyer tells me, look, let me fight this. Let me fight this. He's already been paid. He's not going to get another nickel, but he's telling Rick, this is a strong case. Let me fight this case. So Rick is fighting the case with the lawyer. They going back and forth. The case keeps getting put off month after month. This is now the little girl. She's learned to walk. She's daddy's little girl. She's playing all the time. He's loving it. He don't mind the getting up at night. He's really loving being a father. It has really grown on him. Now his lawyer tells him, look, the judge has ruled. This is almost after a year and a half. I'm moving a little fast on y'all. But after a year and a half, the judge finally dismisses the case against Rick. Flat out dismisses it. No court trial, no nothing. The lawyer has successfully argued this situation to the judge, and the courts have agreed that Rick never gave that officer permission to search the car, that the officer should have written Rick a ticket and Rick should have been able to leave, all of this. So the case is dismissed. Rick is excited. Rick is super excited about that. Now he's a free man all the way. Don't have to worry about nothing. But he's got this daughter and his girlfriend, which he has proposed to, that he is really, during this time of stress, he's really grown closer to his fiance and his daughter in ways that he could not imagine. He never thought that he could love anybody as much as he loves his daughter. And he just loves spending time with her, and she loves him. And every time he comes home, she's getting to him and jumping on him and playing and all this and that. They are really like bonding. So Rick, like a lot of people, is like, we need to move. Now they want to move away, especially Rick, from the area that they're in. And he's got a nice piece of change, but he spent $60 with this lawyer. He spent $60 with this lawyer, so he wants to make sure that when they do move away, that they're straight. So he thinks about one more run, y'all. You know how you go, one more run. So he thinks about how he's going to make this come off, and he's going to be straight for a long time. And this is going to require more than a few pounds, right? So here we go. Rick figures that if he makes this move and he gets several pounds, you know what I'm saying, he can move these pounds really quick, because once he gets it, he already has it sold. He'll have enough money to get that 60 plus some back, and then they can get on down. So he sets up this move with one of the guys that he's always dealt with. But this guy has two people that Rick doesn't know with him. So they're discussing the business, all this and that, right? And everything seems to be set up to be working out fine. This is going to be a big move, one of the biggest moves Rick has ever made, and everybody's going to make a lot of money off of it, especially him. So when he goes home, he's thinking everything's straight. Tomorrow everything's going to work out fine, this, and that. He's supposed to meet them with the money and all this and that, right? But those two guys that were with his friend, well, his associate, they get other ideas. They think about, man, we finna get him. We're not finna let him do what he wants to do and all this and that. We're finna take that money. So they plan to rob him. So they follow him home. And he sees them, but he doesn't really end up paying attention to that because he's thinking they're going in the same direction as he is, right? Now, once he gets home, he gets into his crib. Now, he has a camera, but it's one of the old school CCTV cameras, right? And it's grainy and all that, but he knows what he saw. He's seen these guys before, so he knows who they are. So they get into the house. He gets into the house, and he looks and he sees them. And they're standing, now they're on his porch, but they're not knocking. So he just looks, and now his girlfriend, his fiancée-to-be, wife-to-be, she's looking and says, what's going on? He said, I don't know. So he takes his girlfriend and his daughter, and he puts them in the closet in the very back room. And he tells them, don't come out until I tell you to. No matter what, don't come out. And that was the moment. He looked at his little daughter's face and he saw utter fear. He had never, ever seen that. And she started crying, Daddy, what's wrong? And he said, it's going to be all right. And she's looking at him and she reaches for him. She reaches for him and she grabs his arm. Don't go, Daddy, don't go. Stay in here with us. She knows something is wrong here. And it hits him in his gut. Now his wife-to-be, she looks at him and she has that look. And he knows that look. And she's not going to keep putting up with this. She has a daughter to be concerned about. Her protective instincts are heightened. So she's looking at him. She's angry. His daughter's looking at him crying. And he's telling her, please be quiet, baby, be quiet. I'll be back. I'll be back. But she's crying. And you know how almost 2-year-old is, crying and halfway trying to stop crying and don't understand what's going on and talking and all this and that. It's like she don't understand fully, but she knows something ain't right. Dad ain't acting right. And why are we in this closet? So he shuts the door of the closet. And he runs to the kitchen real fast and he grabs a trash bag. Now, they're standing on the porch. He sees them. He's like, I got to get him away from this house. He opens the window and he eases out the window. He's got a trash bag. He's got a whole lot of stuff in it. And while he's going out the window, his fiancée had enough sense. She had enough sense to see what he was doing. So she gets out of the closet. She's got her daughter with her. She's holding her. She gets to the phone and she calls the police. Now, Rick is easing out the window. When he gets on the porch, the side of the porch, right, they had to look to see. They see him. Now, by now, they put masks on, but he knows who they are. And now he's realized they're here to take his money. They put their masks on. They look. They see him. He strikes out running across the field. And he's got this bag. And this bag is swinging. One of the dudes said, there you go. He got it with him. They strike out behind him. And they're running across the field trying to catch him. And they shoot at him a couple of times. They're trying to get him. But the whole point was to get them away from the house. Get them away from his wife-to-be and his daughter. And that worked. And while they were running across the field trying to catch Rick, the police happened to be on their way. And Rick, he's running. He makes it to the street. And when he gets to the street, he runs right into the police. Right into the police. Now, all three of them are surrounded at this point by two police cars. They got him catacalled. They can't get away. Now, the police jump out of the car and say, hands up. Hands up. They know Rick. They tell the other two, get on the ground. All of them, get on the ground. They walk up on them. They get the guns from them. They didn't want to shoot it out with the police. They get up on them. They take the mask off. They see who they are. They put handcuffs on them and all of that old kind of stuff. Next thing you know, they put them in the backseat of the car. They ask Rick, what is going on here? They grab the bag. They think they got all three of them now, right? They grab the bag. When they grab the bag, they pour the contents on the hood of the police car. It's nothing but trash. No money, no nothing. See, Rick was already thinking ahead. If they catch him, they're not getting the money. He was still going street with it. So they tell him, look, your fiance called us and said that somebody was breaking into your house. Is this who it is? He was like, yeah. He said, why were they there? He said, I don't know. And he explained to them that they had shot at him. They was chasing him and all of this. So they told him, we need you to come down to the station, write out a statement, and then you can leave. Are you going to do that? And he thought about it, and he almost said no. And he thought about his little daughter's face. And he said, yeah, I'll be right down. And let me go back to the house, check on my daughter and my girlfriend, and I'll be right down there. So they said, okay. So they followed him back to the house just to make sure that everything was safe and nobody else was with them and all this and that. And these two dudes are sitting in the back seat of the police car looking at him with the mean mug on. You know what I'm saying? As if to say, you better not say nothing. But he's made up his mind. So they get back to the house, the police with him. They make sure everything is straight. Then they leave and take those two guys down to the police department. Rick goes into the house. He checks on his girlfriend, thanks her for calling the police. They hug and kiss. He's hugging his daughter, telling her everything is going to be okay. She's crying, and she's like, everything going to be okay, Dad? He's like, yeah, everything going to be okay. Now, when a little 2-year-old is talking and crying and snot coming out of their nose, you can't resist that. All you want to do is make them feel better. And he did. He kissed her. He said, everything going to be okay. Dad'll be right back. You coming right back, Daddy? Yeah, I'm coming right back. He got into his car, drove to the police department, made out a statement. He left out the part about how he knew them and what he was about to do. He left that part out, but he told them everything else about them coming to the house to rob him, and he didn't know why he made that up. But anyway, when he left, he assured them that he would be there. When the time came, if they were charged and it went to trial, he'd be there. So when he went home, he told his girlfriend, his fiance, and his little daughter, it's time to go. It's time to go. He said, I'm done. And he started making preparations to move. They started looking for another place in another city. They did that. They eventually moved. And that is how Dopeboy Rick got out of the game. And this story is important because sometimes we have to find that motivation to get out of the game. A lot of times people say, you got to do it for yourself. You got to want this. You got to want that. Sometimes it's the people in our lives that are the most important to us that give us that nudge, knowingly or unknowingly. And in this situation, it was Rick's daughter. I said all that to say, you could be that nudge for that person in your family that is still in the streets or that's still calling you from the penitentiary talking about, bring me that pack. You can be that nudge for them. But you got to share with them. You got to let them know how much you love them and how much you don't want them to do what they're doing. That's what you have to do. That little girl did something that Rick's fiance wasn't able to do because she had his heart. It's a matter of the heart, people. Y'all understand what I'm saying, fam? I hope so. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.